Yo, welcome to the Skratcher Podcast show. Today's Skratcher house is LJ2, Rayted-R, Jointz, Jovie J, PJilla, and Tecumseh. Man, we got a special guest today. From the airwaves of LA to the world stages with the Beat Junkies, a pioneer of the West Coast sound, a master of precision, timing, and crowd control. He helped shape the generation through radio, battles, clubs, and culture, and continues to pass the torch through education and legacy. Respect the craft, respect the history. Skratcher Podcast welcomes DJ Melo-D. Yo!
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for that killer intro. Appreciate the kind words. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for having me on.
Yo, thanks for taking time to hang out with us and joining us with on this podcast. So thank you.
Absolutely,
so much.
My pleasure.
Yo, so Melo, let's go back to the earlier years and your Cerritos roots and your intro to DJing. How did you get into DJing, and what was it like getting into it in Cerritos?
I think for me it was just more timing. I was born in '73, so I was a young kid, when for that first wave of hip hop, when hip hop made its way to the West Coast in like early 1980s. Movies like Break In and rap would come later, like 84, 85. We had K-Day out here, but growing up in Cerritos, there was a handful of pretty dope record stores. And my parents, they got married pretty young. They were 21 when they had me. And so, they were still kind of like in the prime of their lives. And so, they would go out. My mom was, she was really into like disco and R&B and more dance music. My dad, he was more into like, from what I remember, like more classic rock. So like Zeppelin, the Beatles, Bad Company, Stones, all that stuff. And then them growing up in the 60s, they had a pretty good, it was mostly 45s, but it was like just all like some rock stuff, some surf rock, some oldies, ballad stuff like that. So, when they got married, they kind of assimilated their record collections together. But anyhow, like getting to my point, like, they were always into music. So we would go like to the record store, like, a few times a month. I mean, there was a warehouse down the street. There was 3 stores in the Cerritos Mall. There was a really dope kind of like punk rock store called Tempo Records right across from the mall. There was a Tower Records in Lakewood, which is a neighboring city. There was later in the 90s, Sam Goody and all that stuff. So anyhow, we would make like these regular trips to the record store, and it was mostly for them to buy an album or again, this is like, during the era of AM, FM radio. So when they would hear a song, on a countdown or on a radio station that they would like, they'd want to go to the store. Everybody, like just anyone that, loved music, you would go to the store and buy the record. Right. Well, when we would make these trips, they would buy a record here, a record there for me, so I kind of started like my own little 45 and 12-inch collection and stuff like that. And then that was like in the late 70s. And then once, like I said, hip hop and rap music, and it was more electro, to be honest with you, was what kind of caught my ear. Again, that early first wave, I don't know if you guys, this might be before you guys' time, but records like Spider D, Smurfy's Dance, that was basically like an 808 drum and like just a dope ass, synth groove. Like records like that, Egyptian Lover, Planet Rock, obviously, just like those are the Kraftwerk, Cybertron, Clear. Like those were the records that really like, that, whoa, what is that? You know what I mean? I never heard anything like that. And then, at the time out here on the West Coast, like DJs that were playing, those type of records, they were hip hop DJs. So they were playing hip hop, and that was kind of like how I was exposed to rap music and stuff. So that's kind of what got me into DJing, obviously, like, just, having a love for hip hop and electronic music at a young age. The hip hop music would expose me to DJing. The early groups, DJ and MC duos, this is like later in the 80s, but like Cash Money, Jazzy Jeff. Yeah. I was always a fan of DJ Skratch, like all the cuts he would do for EPMD. Later on, DJ Aladdin, Joe Cooley, obviously. We had the K-Day Mix Masters out here in the 80s, just getting down, on traffic jams and mixes on 1580 KDAY. So just all those things, being exposed to all those elements really just kind of fostered my love for the DJ culture. And then out here, growing up in Cerritos, you had like a handful of, it was like the mobile DJ days. So fast forward to like 85, when I started junior high school. I guess they call it middle school now, but I was in 7th grade. And the high school I went to, it was actually, you spent all 6 years on one campus. It was grades 7 through 12. So that was like my very first, I guess middle school dance or whatever, the fall of my 7th grade school year. Right. And it was a nighttime dance, and DJ Curse, who's an original Beat Junkie, him and his crew, Public Image, they were DJing. And so that was the first time I would ever see, a live DJ. And I just remember, I've told the story a gazillion times, but I was just locked in on just like watching him the whole night. I mean, I was just taken aback by just the whole thing. Again, this is like the mobile sound system days. So he had like the full rig. He had like the Sherwin Vegas, the bass cabinets, the 18-inch. He had the Trussell with the lighting, and then, just the wall of crates behind him, and the Technics 1200s with the dope Newmark mixer. That was kind of like the mixer of choice out here in Southern California. Right. But he had the full rig, and he was dope. He was just busting, just doing doubles, cutting it up, playing all the jams. I was just like, wow, like this is, you know what I mean? I want to do that, Yeah. So, sorry, that's a long-winded answer.
It seems like you're more interested in the DJ booth than the school dance itself.
100%. There was, I might have shared this on another podcast before, but again, this is like, I don't know, we're like 4, maybe 5 weeks into the school year. So I'm at a brand new school, and, all my other friends bounced and went to another school. So, I had a few friends, but there was this girl that was also a 7th grader that I had a crush on. Oh, and sure. I was like, oh, are you going to the dance? You know what I mean? It's not like we were going together, but it's like, oh, cool. Maybe I get to see her at the dance, and maybe we can hang out. Or, man, I forgot all about her. Once I saw like what was going down with like Curse and the DJing, I was like, man, forget about it. That was it. Yeah.
So, Melo, you came up in modern music before the Beat Junkies. What was it? What was the non-glamorous reality of those early Cerritos practice sessions?
The actual practice sessions?
Yeah.
Those are actually, looking back, man, they were pretty special because, again, this is like obviously way pre-digital. And so part of the beauty of forming like mobile DJ crews is that, much like my parents, like, I had a few crates. My other 2 guys had a couple records, and you know what I mean? Like everyone's collection looked a little different. And sometimes you would have a scenario where I had 1 copy of a Jive Rhythm Tracks and I didn't have a double, but one of my guys had his own copies. You could meet up and you could practice together, and we would just take turns. We would just take turns, and we would, this is in the early 90s, and this is kind of like the first time I would be exposed to DMC battle videotapes. And so same thing there. Like I had a couple VHS tapes, you know what I mean, that they didn't have, and vice versa. So we would just posse up at, one of the homies' houses, or sometimes at my house. Sometimes I would bring a setup, and they would have a setup. My partner, DJ Ray L, he had his own setup. His crib was like kind of like Modern Music HQ, so we always met up in his garage to either practice or before a gig. That was like, the meeting point. But on a few occasions, I would like, man, let's practice 4 turntables, like today. So I would bring my whole setup, and we would just set up right there in his garage, just taking turns, going back and forth, and maybe take a break and go record shopping and go back and cut it up some more, listen to our records. And yeah, those are fun times, man, for sure.
Jeez. Like you were part of the younger generation under the early Beat Junkies, right? And what lesson from the older junkies did you ignore back then and now you live by?
Did I ignore?
Did you ignore any? Where you took them all in?
I was pretty receptive to, we were all young. I'm probably 4, maybe 5 years junior to Rhett, and Curse. And like I said, they were already off and running. Like, Curse was the first guy I saw, and he was, light years ahead of me. He had the gear and was rocking and all that. Yeah. I had no gear, and nothing really comes to mind. Yeah, it was always, and I think that's part of the reason that we're still like, we're still a crew today. We're still like very good friends. We're brothers. I've known these guys more than half a lifetime. And I think part of it is because like we were all, again, you know, young and 20 something or 19 or however old we were, you know, just young and just hungry. And, you know, hip hop was alive and turntablism, like, you know, this is like, you know, Scratch Pickles and Mixmaster Mike and, you know what I mean? The Executioners. This is like, you know, kind of like the rebirth of, you know, of the art of DJing, like after kind of, you know, Cash Money and Aladdin, like after that era, you know, the Pickles like came in and we had all the Junkies, we had all had a few years under our belt. So we were just hype, man. Like we were just hype. Like any chance we could get to meet up, whether that was at Curse's crib to practice or, you know, go to like one of J-Rock's gigs or, you know, me and Rhett to DJ together. Like it was just always like, we were just always just trying to get after it. I don't remember like anything like I would always know because I was the younger cat, man. So anytime like Red or like Curse like would, you know, like lend me a bar like on some DJ stuff or, you know what I mean, I was wide open, man. I would always just listen and take heed to what they had to say.
Definitely.
Let's go to the Radio Mix Show days. So 92.3 The Beat. During that era, what's one record you championed early that you're still proud of pushing before it was considered safe?
The first one that comes to mind, and people still, it's funny, they still come up and, you know, will talk to me about it. It's an R&B record called Sun Don't Rain. The artist, her name was Lorne. And it was just an EP. I have it right up here, but it was just an EP. But I just thought it was just like a 2-bar, kind of jazz loop with just some simple drums underneath it. And you know, she had kind of this like this really soft, like airy voice, and it was just a beautiful record. I thought it was dope, and you know, it kind of fit with the format of our radio station, which was hip hop and R&B. You know, we were more of an urban radio station. Yeah, I used to run that practically 5 nights a week, and it just really caught on, and it never really became a hit in the sense that, you know, it got played across the country, but people would actually call in for it, and somehow word got back to her that I was just blowing her record up. I think she was signed to, I think it's Epic, but anyhow, out of nowhere, I walk into the radio station one day, and this was pretty cool. I'll never forget this. My music director, she came in the DJ booth as I was setting up to start the show. Like, she's called me Melly. She's like, Melly. She's like, I have something for you. I was like, oh, what is it? She's like, oh my God. So she's like, she brings in this, it's a basket, like a gift basket from Lorne. She sent me like this, a gift basket and just like an autograph picture. I have it, it's in storage, but it was cool. Yeah. There was like a pair of headphones and like an autograph, you know, like press photo of her, and she attached like a cool little note, just, you know, thanking me for the love, and so that was cool. That was one I'm kind of proud of.
Yo, I gotta say, like, I'm glad you brought up that song because I love that track, man. Like, it's a dope, like, instrumental. Even just the vibes, like, for R&B. I'm, like, a sucker for R&B stuff. Like, till this day, when I go to record stores, I still try to see if that record's still around, but I've yet to come across it, man. You have the EP, or is there a single for that?
There was never a single. It's a 4-song EP. And there was 2 different versions. One basically had the vocals of all 4 songs and then the instrumentals on the B-side, and the other one was just a 2-song 12-inch. So I think what happened was they put that EP out first, and then I think when that song caught a little traction, they released a promo 12-inch. But both of those are promos, they're white labels. You know, I don't think there was ever a commercial release. And it's funny, like during the pandemic, like, you know, a lot of us DJs got into live streaming. And so my wife, she would sit in with me sometimes and we would stream together. And I played it like one stream, and I didn't even know this. And she was like, do you know that song's, or at the time, this is 5 years ago, but I guess it's one of the few records that wasn't even available on Spotify. Like, it's not really out there like that. So I'm curious to know, maybe it's hard to find because maybe it never got released commercially. Maybe it was just a promo only. So
Yeah, I heard it on a mixtape. That's how I got wind of that song, and I just like fell in love with that track when I heard it.
Yeah. It's so simple but very smooth. Yeah.
Dude, it's a dope, like, for the instrumental version, just cutting over it, it's a vibe, man.
Well, I never tried to cut over that. Yeah.
Try it, man. It's super
sure.
chill, man. Like,
Yeah.
turn off the lights and turn on a candle and make it intimate.
do I like a true story? Like when I have like late night sessions, which is not that often anymore. But I'll turn off the lights and I have like some really dim lighting. And my wife, she always she'll come in here and she makes fun of me. She's like, "Oh my God, you're such a dark person. You love the dark. It's so dark."
Hey, it's the best though. It's not even about being dark. It's really about like just the vibes and just like being like when you go to get a massage, it's like a dim, like lit area, and that's pretty much it. Like it's therapy for me. So like bright lights just make it difficult for me. I feel like it's a distraction. So
I feel that peace in the dark. You know what I mean? It's weird.
Cutting in the dark is actually a vibe.
Yeah, the whole
It
ambience.
is. Yeah, it is for sure. So, but yeah, so that'd be the one record that I guess comes to mind from the radio days.
Can you tell us about a moment something went wrong during a live radio mix? Like, and then like, how would you recover from it while the listeners are still there with you?
Okay, so I don't think this ever happened, but I've had like recurring dreams about it, and I don't know if I dream it sometimes because it actually happened, or it's just a recurring dream. But I have this dream where I'm DJing, right, and I'm on the radio, and the record just ends. The song just ends. It just ends, and I kind of freeze, like, oh my God, and there's like dead air for like whatever few seconds, and I panic, but I don't think that ever happened. But for some reason, like it just I don't know, it just comes to me once in a while. But to answer your question, I was always pretty good about catching curse words. You know, again, this is the vinyl era, so there would be certain album cuts I would want to play, like West Coast rap songs, you know what I mean, that had dirty words, and would have to make sure I caught all those.
How would you guys edit those back then?
Just use the toggle switch, or just either, you know, just mute it, or sometimes what I would do was, if I had the next record, you know, already like beat matched, I would just like, if there was a curse word, I would just hit the fader. You know what I mean? So you would hear the snare of the other record instead of the curse word on the vocal or whatever. But yeah, I used to do like live edits like that. I guess the only thing I guess I could say was that I had a reputation at the radio station for kind of just not following the rules when it came to like you know, like my music format. You know, and you know, again, shout out to my MD and my PD. I think at a certain point they just kind of just gave up, because like they came in and more, because basically the rule on radio when you're doing like a, you know, a 27 minute set is, you know, you're probably gonna get, you know, 8-9 records off. You know what I mean? 2 verses, 2 choruses, and so it's a pretty straightforward rule. You want to start the mix with a hit, something that's like familiar to, like, you know, the majority of your audience, and then after that you can play maybe a newer song like a Lorne or something that's a cool record, but then after that you got to come right back with a hit. So every other song basically like has to be a hit record, and sometimes I would just like completely just ignore that rule, and I would play like Lorne into, you know, Quasimodo, into most, I would just go bananas. And so they would, you know, they pulled me aside a couple times, and I would just tell them, I was like, these are just records I like, and yeah, I know, but you gotta boo. And then I remember one night, there used to be this, I think it still goes on, but it's a record fair in the city of Buena Park, where Knott's Berry Farm is down here. It's a few miles from Cerritos, where I grew up. But they used to have this really dope record fair at the Sequoia Athletic Club. This is in the late 90s, but it was the last Sunday of every month, and like I would go there with like J-Rock and the homie Truliard and just buy records. And this one day, I bought a bunch of like freestyle records, like 80s like freestyle records, and I was like, oh, dope. Like, so I did a whole freestyle mix like on a Wednesday night, and like halfway through it, my program director, Harold, he came in, he's like, you're gonna just freestyle the whole mix? I'm like, yeah, this is what I brought, you know? I was like, okay. And he just walked out. So that'd probably be the one thing that comes to mind. I just I think I pushed the envelope a little too much sometimes. But at the end of the day, like again, we had a really dope team at 92.3 The Beat. And I think part of the reason they all kind of gave me some slack was because I was there kind of from the beginning with Julio G. Like when he started, I was right away his DJ 5 nights a week. And so we kind of grew our time slot together. And then at one point, the beat was always kind of neck and neck with Power 106, you know, and then finally, like, I think our second, 97, our second year, we beat them in the ratings, which was a huge deal because we were just, you know, this underdog, like, you know, kind of like rinkety like radio station. The actual station was in an old kind of rundown building on in Hollywood on Franklin and Yucca when I started, and you know, that's where it had been since the early 90s. And then when we became number one, we all of a sudden got moved to this to the E Entertainment building on Wilshire Boulevard. We were on like the 32nd floor, and we had this brand new studio with, you know, A studio, B studio, C studio. They built the DJ booth for me. They like actually came to me as like, what do you want? So part of the reason I think, you know, what I'm trying to, I guess I'm saying all this to say, where they gave me a little grace in the mix was because maybe they, you know, kind of attributed some of that success to Julio and I, you know, and we had a 4-hour time slot, and my mix was an hour so of the show 5 nights a week. So I think maybe that's why they kind of gave me a little grace, and you know, they knew like that I was part of the Beat Junkies crew, and you know that I was, you know, very active as a turntablist, and we were competing at the time and stuff like that. So yeah, they gave me a little leeway.
That's pretty dope, man. Like
a lot of leeway.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like you had like control about what you wanted to do at this point now. Like we trust this guy full on board 100%. This guy's he's on his own vibe right now. I'm sure the listeners would be on your vibe too. Like I'd be super engaged just probably listening to what you're gonna bust out every time.
Yeah. It's funny because you never like it took me a while to get used to being on the radio because you know, you have basically like, I mean, at our peak we probably had 1 million plus listeners, you know, because we were on from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. So we're catching people on their drive home from work, or if they're going out, you know, to dinner or whatever, you know, we're getting, you know, them for 20, 45 minutes in the car, or maybe even at the house, like whatever, at the gym. But it's kind of a trip because you know, you're in a DJ booth, you know, you're in your own studio by yourself, but like in the back of your head, or sometimes in the forefront of your mind, like there's mad people listening to me right now. And so you never really know, you know, you never really know like you know, what the consensus is on any given set that you play. But you know, it is kind of cool, like this many years later, like you know, from time to time I'll run into DJs, and they'll tell me about, they just remember how I used to always play, Lorne, or you know, a Stones Throw record, or you know, just some random kind of just indie hip hop record, you know, or my intro or whatever. They remember like all these things. It's not like the hit records that they remember, you know. So I don't know. It is kind of interesting. Like you know,
is there like one encounter with a listener that made you realize your radio sets are affecting people beyond your own circle?
There was a few. We would do like the Summer Jam concert, which was used to be down at the Irvine Meadows, which was a big amphitheater. It was like 17,000 seats. And so that was a huge deal for the radio station. And they would bring out, you know, like all the artists that had, you know, new music out at the time. We had everybody. Everybody. LL Cool J, DJ Quick. God, who else? Barge, the Gap Band. They would bring on some of the old school, you know, 80s R&B and funk artists. But those were probably like the ones that stand out as far as like being actually able to engage or interact with our listeners. Then with radio, they never know who we are, you know, but then like we're walking around the amphitheater and we have our, you know, our access badges, and, you know, oh, you're DJ Melo-D, like you're with Julio J. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, oh, we love you. And so stuff like that was always cool. Like it was always cool to get that love. Because that kind of signals to you like, okay, like people actually enjoy, like, you know, like my hour mix or whatever, or the, you know, my selection, or my, you know, my taste, you know, as far as like what I'm programming. But I'm sure, to be fair, like the flip side of that coin is there was probably, you know, a fair share of listeners that they weren't down with the indie hip hop. Like they just wanted to hear like the Tupacs and, you know what I mean, the the Erykah Badu's and the R&B records. They're probably like, oh man, like what's this guy doing? Like, change the channel. You know what I mean? So like I said, going words back, like you never really know. Like there's so many people listening.
Do you try not to do the same set over and over, Melo?
That was a big challenge because there was only like a finite number of records. So, you know, I would have to get creative, like being on 5 nights a week. I would, you know, maybe I'd have like 3 or 4 that I'd have to like, you know, I'd want to play because they were those hit records that you know, that worked well with some of the other ones that I wanted to play, but I would have to kind of get creative as far as like the arrangement. So like an Outkast record, right? Maybe on Monday I would start off with that, and then maybe I wouldn't play it Tuesday, but on Wednesday I'd play it in the second part of the hour. You know what I mean? But I was still gonna play it. But yeah, that was not a big challenge, but it was definitely something that I had to think about, or that I wanted to think about, because I didn't want to just, to your point, like just, you know, play pretty much the same mix every night. So so yeah, I always try to put some thought into programming, you know, the hour.
Yeah, with programming, Mel, I wanted to ask, man, like 5 days a week is a lot, and it's like you said, there's only so many records. So like when you, like, I guess ahead of time, did you pre-plan some of these things? Like did you set, like, you know, practice a set for each of these days, or do you know, like, I know that, I don't know, how would you go about that?
No, both. I would kind of just, so the, another cool thing about being a DJ on the radio was they would just, I mean, literally every day I would get just packages of just promo records. They would send you just like literally like 6 copies, 8 copies of the new Mariah Carey, Eminem, like whatever, Busta Rhymes, Slick Rick 12-inch. Like they would just like bombard you with records and CDs, you know what I mean? Like these packages, like, man, they were coming so fast. And so part of it was, you know, okay, I gotta sit down and open all these packages. I mean, I literally used to have like a row like of packages, just like if I let a week or like a week and a half go by, it would just get sick. It would just be just like, oh man, it would almost kind of dread it, you know. But anyhow, I would go through everything. I would make it a point, like every no more than 2 weeks, I would just, you know, okay, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna just dive in for a few hours, maybe half a day, and open all these records, and I'm gonna listen to them, and you know what I mean? Sometimes you would get some really dope stuff, you know, you'd be hype, and then sometimes you would get everything, indie stuff, you would get gear, you know, so labels would send you like, you know, merch and promo items and stuff like that, that was always cool. But
good
yeah,
problem
so
to have.
yeah, but you would, I mean, I would, you know, you have to sit there and like listen to the music. Like, is this something I want to play? And then, you know, you got to kind of get familiar with the song if you're going to introduce it into the mix. And, you know, yeah, you'd have to, I would, I mean, that was always kind of my approach. Even to this day, I would, you know, make it a point to just at least practice, have the instrumental. Because some instrumentals, they had the chorus in them, you know what I mean? So if you didn't listen to it and you're just like, oh, I'm just going to play it on the air, you never knew. I was, you know, like I said, that was always kind of my my method. Yeah, so then once you got comfortable with the music, I would kind of have like, you know, mentally I would have a library of, I don't know, 30, 40 records that I would rotate, you know, like week in and week out. And like I said, just try and be strategic about the arrangement, you know, as far as like the order of the songs. And maybe I could, you know, play this song 3 days a week and not the whole, you know, all 5 or whatever. So yeah, I tried to think it through. And I used to record, I have them all, they're all in storage, but I recorded every set on cassette every night. Yeah, every show. Because I would always want to listen back to it on the way home and make sure I didn't mess up, you know what I mean? Or if I would try and do something like a, you know, a routine or, you know what I mean, something creative, I would want to know how it sounded, you know.
So that's a good way to train. How did the radio discipline change the way you kind of approach your DJ sets today?
How did that kind of shape my...
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, a great deal. I mean, that pretty much kind of taught me like the formula. The radio, like it's not that much different from, you know, fast forward to the early 2000s when I started doing the big room Vegas nightclubs. you know, it's kind of the same formula in the sense that, you know, you're playing for, you know, people, all walks of life. You're playing for 20 somethings, 30 somethings. You're playing sometimes for older groups, you know, in their early mid 40s, you know, 50, you get older adults sometimes. And your goal is to try and please everyone as best you can through the music. So, you know, at the end of the day though, that pretty much means like when you have a massive crowd like that, and I'm sure you guys know this, but you got to really stick to the hits. You know, you can, same thing, you can like fly some things in and like have a creative mix here and there, a cappella or a live, you know, blend or mashup, whatever you want to call it. Stuff, you can have moments like that, but I think ultimately you really, really got to just like, you know, you gotta just pump them with the music that they know, you know, that's going to keep them hype and hit them with some surprises too, you know what I mean? Digging for a song that maybe, you know, for that kind of 30-something crowd, like this is years ago, but like, yeah, something from the 80s that they haven't heard in a while, that they could, you know, sing along to or something like that. So to answer your question, like the radio, like pretty much, you know, it helped me out a great deal with just like, yeah, just, you know, putting a DJ set together. I mean, in a format like that where I'm playing for like a kind of like a more kind of commercial crowd in a sense.
It's amazing. It's a great tip, man. I love that.
Speaking of like the hits, I remember my trips to Cali back in the day where you guys would be tearing it up on the radio. DJs were cutting up even those hit songs and stuff. Do you think that's changed over the years?
You know, to be honest, I haven't listened to the radio in so long. I know that there's a few, I think 93.5 K-Day is still on the air, which was another station that me and Julio were at in the early 2000s. We actually launched that station with them in 2004. Yeah, we were there for a little over 3 years. But I don't know if they still have mix shows. I haven't listened to the radio. I mean, some of the stations that were around when I was a kid, like K-Earth, now they play like, they were always kind of like a flashback station, but now the flashbacks are like, you know, 80s and 90s, you know, whereas when I was a kid, it was my parents' music. It was like all the surf music, all the 60s rock and, you know, early 70s stuff. But it's just, yeah, I don't think they ever had any mix shows. Kiss FM, I couldn't even tell you. I wouldn't even know just because I haven't caught any radio mix shows in years. Yeah.
Word. Melo, I got a question for you. So if you take, so all the viewers, if you're listening or you're watching, take a look at Melo's background. That is not a green screen, ladies and gentlemen. That is actually real.
That's not AI.
How many how many records you got back there, Melo? Approximately.
Oh, I've never counted. I mean, It's not as many as it looks. It's probably, I don't know,
2,000?
4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Oh, maybe it is 1, 2, 3.
Dude's looking at the ceiling, man. Come on, what's up there, dude?
He's looking at the ceiling, bro.
It's probably around 7,000. Around 7,000.
Wow.
That ain't shit.
That's a guess. I could be way off.
How do you catalog?
Could be like 2,800.
How do you catalog and organize that, like doctor room style and shit, or what's
Well, yeah.
How do you even know where to go?
No, so let me backtrack a little bit. So this is a house that we moved into right before the pandemic, my family and I, in 2019. And so this room that I'm in was an add-on that was done by the previous owners. But prior to that, we were living in the house that I bought in Cerritos in 2000, which was a modest size, like Cerritos home, 1,500 square feet, 4 bedrooms. It was great for me, you know, when I was, you know, single and living by myself, but, you know, we have a live-in nanny also, or we did at the time. So 3 adults, 3 small kids. We outgrew the 1,500 square foot house. But while we were living there, I didn't have a studio. I didn't have any records. And I had literally just a setup in the garage because all the interior space was for the family and for, you know, for just living space. I didn't have anything. So all my records were, literally all my records. I think I kept like some 45s. I might have had like 2 or 3 crates and that was it, like in the garage. But all my records, like 95% of my collection, if not a little more, was all in storage. And so when we moved here, I was just like, oh, I couldn't wait. I was like, oh man, please. So yeah, like our house was a full demo. It was a full remodel. We did everything. Yeah, we went all out. And so I had a contractor, he actually built these shelves for me. And so my vision was to always like get or at least a good chunk of my collection, back, like, to where it was accessible. So, I made a dozen plus trips to storage because you can only transport so many crates in a car, at a time. But the way I ended up organizing it's all arranged by section. So right here, this is all like kind of like 90s R&B. So like the Lorne and all the R&B records that were out, like the Sade and all that stuff, D'Angelo. That's all this. And then the last two shelves are like reggae and dub music, and I have like 4 shelves of those. And then right about here at the top, all the way to the very last row, it's all like 80s and 90s hip hop. The ones that I wanted to have here.
Melo, okay, so in the evening, it's dark, it's dim, you turn on a candle, you look at your 7,000 records. Where do you even begin with, okay, I'm going to do this set?
I know where everything's at. So they're all alphabetized by artists from A to Z.
Damn.
So okay. I could, yeah, because you guys could.
You're blending in.
Call out a.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I was going to say, like, if I have the record and you guys call out a record, I could tell you, like, okay, I have it, and if I have it, I know where it's at.
Wow.
I can find it in 30 seconds. Yeah. But I did it that way intentionally because I wanted it to be organized. I'm like, okay, if I'm going to spend all this time and, build this all out, like, I got to know where everything's at. It took me like 2 months probably to like get all the records here and then sort through them, and doubles I was like, oh, there it is. There's my double. You know what I mean? Like, and just putting everything together. Yeah, it took some time, but I'm glad I invested the time to do it.
Your D'Angelo set though, man,
fire.
So good.
Thanks. Yeah,
I like your freestyle set. Like you, all of your blending is like so clean, and your party rocking with turntablism is perfect. Is there a routine or moment that made you feel that balance was finally there?
No, it's just I think what that comes from is just kind of I've been lucky to be part of 2 of the dopest worlds, like in DJ culture, which is turntablism. I definitely have love for scratching and obviously like beat juggling and creative mixing and all that stuff. And like I said, that just comes from my foundation with the Beat Junkies, because we were all so just hyper focused and just so in love with that, with all those things in the early 90s. And we would practice together on stuff. But then also, like, I have a wealth of experience, like, in radio and in nightclubs and stuff like that. So that's where, you don't have to, not that you ignore scratching or, being creative or anything in that space, but, the focus is more on, like I said, just selecting and like playing the right tunes, for your audience. So bridging those two worlds together, I think, is really what kind of just, helped me kind of formulate like my style, whether it's like a 2-minute routine or or something like that's all technical, but to answer your question, I don't think there's one routine or one thing that stands out. I think it's just being exposed to both of those worlds, and always like being mindful and trying to evolve at and excel at both. You know what I mean? It's like it's a trip because like I used to go to like the Bay Area in like the late 90s, like just to kick it with like D-Styles and Short, and they would take me to Q's house, and that was just like scratch nerd. Like we would just that's all we did for like a week straight. I'd be like, all right, I'm flying up for like 2 days, and 2 days would turn into 6 nights. You know what I mean? And then that's all we did. We just cut it up, like go to Q's house and just hours, 6-7 hours, take a break, go to 7-Eleven, go right back to Q's house. And then when I would be down here and at home in SoCal, I'd go to a J-Rock gig and just watch him just fucking just body the club. You know what I mean? And I was like, whoa, this is fucking sick too, man. Again, just I think having love for both of those, facets of DJing is really, really like kind of what helped like shape my style.
Are you honorary ISP, dude?
No.
I swear,
no.
Dude.
Those are the homies though. Those are my brothers, man. Those are my brothers for sure.
Definitely surrounded by greatness, man. Yeah, that's what's
Yeah,
real, man.
Yeah. And talking about greatness within the Beat Junkies, who gives you the most honest feedback?
Everybody. We always keep it, super 100 with each other.
Who would tell you suck, man? What the hell? That's crazy.
That's
crazy.
No, no one's ever said like you suck, but I remember like battling. I remember battling, and we would practice so much at Curse's house. Like his crib was like Beat Junkies HQ back in the day. That was where we all posseed up and practice and meet up for gigs. That whole same thing. But we were around each other so much, and again, this is like the battle era. So we would meet up and show each other routines and stuff, and then like we would show up, meet up again another week, and I changed it up and blah 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 blah. And then here comes the contest, and I can't remember which contest, or maybe it wasn't even a contest. It was like maybe us at a house party or a gig somewhere, and I would do one of my routines. And Curse would always tell me like, it was just like he wasn't saying I sucked or anything, but he was like, Melo, he's like, I've heard you do that routine better than that. That wasn't, you know what I mean? Yeah. I was like, no, word, like yeah, because I mean, and that's part of I think like being being a creative, like even me, like I've had so many nights, using Vegas as an example, where I walk out and I know I was like, man, I could have played better than that, like, for whatever reason, or like I really screwed up like that one blend, or you know what I mean, like that, or that blend was terrible. That mix, that transition was way off. What the fuck are you, what's wrong with you, man? Like, I've definitely, but I'm always honest with myself, so it's, I appreciate it when, like a friend, you know what I mean? Like someone that I respect, and you know what I mean? I consider like a colleague and a brother, like just tells me like, there's nothing wrong with constructive criticism. You know what I mean? So
Melo,
speaking of creativity, like how important is digging to creativity, and how does that tie in?
For me, part of the reason that I wanted to get, a good amount of my records back is because it just helps with ideas. For me, like it just sometimes like, because I know we all use Serato or some form of digital, you know what I mean, technology to DJ, and sometimes it's like it's weird. Maybe this just happens to me, but like it's just like scrolling through like a library sometimes, like for whatever reason, gives me like, I'll get a mental block sometimes. Like if I'm working on a mix, like I did some mixes for Rock the Bells Radio, and obviously I'm recording all that digitally, like using Ableton, right? And so, but like, like I'd get stuck, like I'd be like, 11 minutes into like a 60-minute mix and be like, fuck, like what am I gonna play here, And so it helps to have music, you know what I mean, like, in front of you, so I can go, through my records, or even I'll go to YouTube sometimes, and I'll just listen to somebody else's mix to see if there's like a record that maybe I'm not thinking of or something like that. But it definitely helps, like, and I still get out and buy records. I actually just went last week. Yeah, last week there was a sale on 45s, and so I stepped out on a Tuesday. But yeah, whenever I get the chance, I still love to go out and buy records and collect. And it's just like, I feel like it's never ending. Like you can never like, have enough records, and it feels good because I still like to use them. I do like, well, lately I've been trying to record, just quick mixes and stuff like that for Instagram. Using records and stuff, just give the digital a break, But I think it's very important. I think it helps, just again, having access and just the music being like, visible, you know what I mean? It's tangible, it's right there in front of you. And the cool thing about 12 inches, at least like the ones from like mostly the 80s, but some of the 90s stuff too is like, yeah, you'll have your vocal. A lot of times, like 9 times out of 10, there's an instrumental, but like the 80s, like a lot of the freestyle stuff, a lot of the Latin freestyle, the electro stuff, there's like dope ass like dub versions, there's like drum appellas, there's like some sick, like those aren't out there. You're not gonna get those on Spotify. Like good luck, You're not gonna find those on iTunes, you know what I mean? So it's, I mean, for me, I like having stuff like that,
So out of that, like with those records you've been looking for years, what are like the ultimate grails that you found that you're like, just on that ultimate high after finding that record?
There's been a few. It's just a lot of times there's, like So that going back to that record fair that I mentioned, that was like the last Sunday of every month. I went. This is probably like 2 years back, and I hadn't been in, man, probably a good decade, because we were living in Vegas for a while, and so but anyhow, I made it a point. I was like, nah, I'm gonna go. I need to go. I want to go check it out. And that fair is really dope because it's always been dope, but it's basically like 40, 50 different vendors. They all have their, setups, and one guy sells all 60s rock. Another dude has $1.45s, but they're all sleeveless and beat up, and it's a dusty dig. And I found this one cat, he had all hip hop 45s. He had like probably 10 boxes. And so I spent like a good 2 hours at his booth, and I literally went through every single box. I was like, wow. And so I walked up, and then, his presentation was nice because he had everything like, the plastic sleeve protecting the, the picture sleeve or the OG sleeve. And he had a little tiny sticker with the price on it. So I'm just grabbing stuff. So I walk up, the stack guy was like, man, how much? And he showed me love though. Like he knew the crew. And so I did the math in my head, and it was like $535 or $540 for the stack that I wanted. He gave it to me for $300.
Oh,
and all he wanted is like, man, if you wouldn't mind like taking a photo and maybe like, can I get a video of you doing a shot? I was like, yeah, all day, man. Like, thank you. But but like, dude, I found like some Biz Marquee, Big Daddy Kane, like cold chillin' 45s, stuff I didn't have. What else did I buy? I found a De La Soul Break of Dawn promo, a white promo, 45. Like, yeah, I came up. I came up.
You hit a gold mine, man. That's what's up.
Yeah. And that's what's dope about digging. You never know. You might set out like looking for a record. Like, okay, I'm on a mission to find this one thing, and well, for me, a lot of times it doesn't pan out. I don't find it. But in the dig, like when you really, like if you spend time, like, and that's what a dig is, right? You go and you just like, you're there for hours, you bring a portable and, you listen to stuff. Sometimes too, what I'll do is, it's a bit of a cheat, but just so if I don't have the portable on me, I'll, if I find a record, I'll just look it up on YouTube and I'll just throw the AirPods in and listen to it, like to see what it sounds like. Oh, should I buy this or not? You know what I mean? Little tip for everybody out there, but yeah, you never know what you're gonna find, and that's part of the beauty of a dig. You know what I mean? It's just like you're always gonna find some records. You just but it's always dope when you find like some heat and like, whoa, I've never seen this. I didn't even know this existed. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Out of your hip hop 45s, what would you say would be like the crown jewel out of all your hip hop 45s that you own?
Man, I don't have like a super duper ton, but damn. I'd have to go through them. Oh, I guess. Oh, it's not really hip hop. I guess it's hip hop, but I have Nucleus Jam on it, 45, which was like, that record's like personal to me because that was actually one of the first 12 inches that I bought with my own money when it came out in I think '83 at a store called Licorice Pizza in the Cerritos Mall. So I saw the 45. For a really good price too. This was years ago, but I have that. And then on the same label, Sunny V Records, I don't know if you guys know this song, but it's called E.T. Boogie by the Extraterrestrials. It's basically, it's the song that Busta Rhymes, he used it for Dangerous Bone. I think Dangerous, but it's an electro jam. It's an electro record. Yeah, it's dope. So that's another one. But yeah, those are a couple examples, I guess. Yeah.
Melo, as part of Beat Junkies OG, is there any sacrifices or contributions that you've made for the group that fans wouldn't know about?
As far as like DJing?
Anything that they've contributed, sacrificed for the group at all?
Yeah, I mean, and not that I'm the only one that has. We've all like, again, just, made sacrifices and contributions. But I think like when we, in the early 2000s, when we kind of like decided to, it wasn't even really an intention, but we started our first company, Beat Junkies Incorporated. I I kind of took the lead on just kind of all the day-to-day. And, this is, again, the era of everybody putting out like mixtapes and CDs. And I was the one that was, always corresponding with the distributors. I was making the runs to like, for our label Beat Junkies sound, we would press at RTI and Camarillo. So I would like, make the trek, set up the account. I would, go up there, get the test pressings, pick up the actual boxes of records, and then I would drive them and drop them off at Amoeba, at Aaron's, at Fat Beats, at Stacks, and then I'd have to like, do all the consignment paperwork, and then go back, 30 days later and collect. And I don't really look at it as a sacrifice. I just, it was, I don't know, it was just something that, we decided to do as a crew, and for whatever reason, some of those responsibilities just kind of fell in my lap, and the fellas like, trusted that I would handle it. And so I did. I just felt like it was, I don't look at it as a sacrifice. I look at it more like, again, those are my boys, you know what I mean? Those are my brothers. Like, I'm not going to let these guys down. You know what I'm saying? Like, if they need my help with this, or they trust that I can handle it, then I'm going to bang it out, I can make good by my crew.
If the Beat Junkies were formed today instead of the 90s, what would be different?
Probably, we'd be probably a lot less on all this, right? Vinyl,
It'll be all this.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh man, that's a hard question to answer. That's the first thing that I think of, is that just because of, the technology that everyone, tends to lean on these days. That was part of what was special about, us coming together in the 90s was, was the records. And, I call Curse, I got it, man, can I borrow your Eric B. and Rakim 12-inch, or even the radio, like J-Rock would let me borrow records. I probably still got a few of these guys' records in here. But yeah, like, and then vice versa. If they needed something, for a studio session or whatever, for a routine, like Babu, he, what was that song? The Planet by Gangstar. You guys ever see him do that juggle?
Hell yeah.
Back in the day. So those are my copies of the album Hard to Earn.
Oh.
So when he was working on the routine, he burnt his copies to death, like just flushing it out. And so he needed, crispy. I was like, yeah, here, take it, man. So yeah, he still has, I hope he still has, I'm sure he still has them, but yeah, but just stuff like that, you know what I mean? So I think that was
That's
part
when
of
you know when a record's been
like
used,
the
man.
timing.
The static.
Yeah, for sure.
The waterfalls.
Yeah,
Yes.
hissed out kick drum for sure. Yeah.
So kind of moving on, changing the subject a little bit, into teaching. Because I know with the Beat Junkies Institute, teaching all the kids, what's something you got taught back in the day that stuck with you forever by like a mentor?
I'd have to say the first time we met D and Short, they were down here for, I think, a DJ battle that Short was in with Rhett. And going back to Curse's garage, I was doing a gig one night in Cerritos, and this is the beeper, the pager eras, and so I get a page from Curse. It's like 1:30 in the morning or whatever, and so I go to the payphone, I call him back, and I'm like, oh, yo, what's up? He's like, hey, you still at your gig? And I'm like, yeah, but we're packing it up right now. It's pretty much done. And he's like, man, you got to come over here, man. D-Styles and Shortcut, they're doing this flare scratch. You got to see this. So I did. My gig was 10 minutes away from Curse's, drove to Curse's and walked right in the garage. And yeah, there's D and Short. They're on the Gemini 2200. Yeah, they're just doing 1 and 2 click flares. And we were just like, what is that? Rectangle was there. He was there that night. Yeah, J-Rock was there. Rhett. Yeah, and then so D and Short were in town just for a few days for that battle, and then they went back up north. But man, like for a month, at least a good 3 weeks, dude, we were at Curse's like 5 nights a week. Like just, dude, trying to learn the scratch. Rectangle was living in San Diego at the time. This fool drove. He would drive back and forth from San Diego, like Monday through Friday, like just to kick it with us, because we were all trying to figure it out. And then Curse even taped it. He he videotaped them doing it. And we still couldn't figure it out, Because this is before like teaching. So, this is kind of like, oh yeah, like the way they would explain it to us is like, oh, it's like this. and they would just do it. And then, but like they would stop and do it slow. They would do it slow. And then, of course, like, oh, let me try. And then we would all take turns and we all couldn't do it. Like we would suck. And then D would be like, no, I think that you guys are transforming, you know what I mean? But it's like this. And dude, oh man, that's probably the one. That's definitely the one for sure. Would be the flare.
That's Skratch was like so hood famous in the DJ world.
Yeah.
It's like everybody was trying to figure it out. Like I remember I talked to Ace and he would be hitting up Babu all the time, trying to figure out what it was going on. But like with that, it was so like that, trying to learn. How do you think that's different now with like kids just going on YouTube and like doing it that way? And then if they come into the school, how's that different, teaching them with all that in their head?
No, for sure. I think it's a good thing. I mean, I wish we had like, a wealth of resources when I was learning coming up. And I think what that's done is it's really accelerated the learning curve. I mean, all these kids, like our students, I mean, they learn at such a fast pace now. I mean, it's crazy, like things that we spent years, like whether it's scratch techniques or, creative mixing or juggling or whatever, that we spent years. I mean, like, north of 5 years, like just trying to really just, polish and master. They're learning within a year.
That's crazy.
A year, 18 months. Like, the first is them kind of like just getting comfortable, like on the decks, but then once it's weird because once, and I guess it was like this for me too, but like once it clicks, it's on. They're off and running, and I've seen that time after time, with a lot of our students, in particular the kids, the younger kids, But yeah, it's just crazy. And so I think it's, to answer your question, I think it's a good thing. And I think that's probably the biggest difference is that there's just an infinite number of resources out there. Like you said, there's YouTube, there's schools, there's guys that, teach private lessons virtually. And I think, this was one of our biggest challenges when we started the school, was Mr. Chalk. He had a decade as an instructor at another school out here in LA. And so we really leaned on him for guidance and for direction, as far as like starting the Beat Junkie Institute of Sound. So when we finally like built the place out and we had all the gear in there, and so he's like, all right, y'all, he's like, everybody come through. We're going to have a mock class tonight. You know what I mean? So we're like, okay. Oh, I'll never forget. He was like, okay. He's like, beat matching to me. And we all just froze. We were like, oh man, how do you, because this is, for years, we've all been DJing 20 years at this point, or 20 years plus. These are always things that we learned by ear, or someone taught them to us, or we studied a videotape, or, and we learned them, and we've just been performing them just kind of like a second nature, never having to articulate them or put them into words for someone that's super green. But now we have to do that.
Right.
So that was the biggest hurdle, really, was just like, oh wow, like, so Chalk, he wrote a curriculum for us, and like, yeah, we had a handful of mock classes, and it took some time, because yeah, like how do you explain, an eighth note offset, to somebody,
Right.
anything, any technique. And I have a funny story. This is going back to my Vegas days. This is like 2008, 2009. There was a guy that he played soccer for Manchester United. I was a resident at a club called Body English at the Hard Rock.
Right.
During this time. And so during the off season, he had property in Vegas. And so for, I want to say like 2 years, like those 2 years, he would spend like, 10 weeks or whatever in Vegas, just cooling, before he would go back for training in the season. And so he would come in every Saturday night, and we had a pretty dope DJ booth that was pretty spacious, and people used to come in and kick it, and we'd have like our own little party in there. And so we kind of became friendly and stuff. And then at one point he asked me, he was like, hey mate, would you mind, coming by my flat and, teach me how to DJ, No, he's like, I'll give you $100. I was like, sure, man. Like, okay, let's do it. And so I brought doubles of Rock the Bells. And I remember like he had one turntable and a mixer. And so he was like, okay, so show me something, you know? And so I did that same thing. I was like, oh, it's like I couldn't put it into words. And I felt so bad. I was like, dude, don't even like, he's like, no, take the money. I felt so bad taking the $100 because he didn't learn anything. He didn't learn a thing. Like I probably, you know, did the chirps. I just cut it up a little bit. But obviously like he had no idea what I was doing. And then he would ask me to explain it to him. Like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, well, I'm moving the crossfader and I have my right hand on the, I was terrible. I had no clue like how to teach. And I'll never forget, I was driving back home. I was like, wow, dude, like you couldn't even explain, like you've been doing this how long? You couldn't even explain to this guy, this poor guy, man, shipped you a C note. You couldn't even, man, he didn't learn a thing. He just torched $100.
Yeah, speaking of body language, I remember coming out there to see, I went to Vegas out around the same time when you were there. And I remember homie Presto was like, yo, you gotta check out Melo out here.
Presto, yeah.
Yeah. And I remember like, I was out there with my brother. My brother was so choked with me because like back then the rules were like you have to wear dress shoes and all that shit to most of the clubs. But when Presto hit me up, it's like, nah, you don't. You can rock your sneakers there, bro. I'm like, hell yeah, let's go check out Melo. Fuck, it was dope.
Word. Yeah, that was fun times, man. And it was those were so dope because like Vegas, like being a Saturday night resident, every week, like 3 weekends out of 4, I was always like, hey, we're coming to Vegas. Right. Hey, you in Vegas this Saturday? Right. Where do you DJ at again? It was just like, people were always coming like, yeah, come in, come out. So I used to, friends and family and stuff, I'd meet up with them and walk them into the club. And those were fun times. Yeah, those were fun times.
So needless to say, after that lesson, like teaching probably has given you a whole additional appreciation for DJing. Like, do you understand it way deeper than you think before?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And it actually, it definitely helped having to articulate, said concepts, because now I had an actual a very thorough understanding of what I was doing. And so during the pandemic, that's when I really, really like, oh, okay. Because now we're talking about, eighth notes. We're talking about if we're doing something like a little more advanced, like a trick mixing technique, right? Like using like a bar or a half bar. Like I'm understanding like all this math, right? And so that really helped me just unlock a world of like new techniques, like as far as trick mixing goes, like during the pandemic, because I had a much clearer understanding of my craft, and I could science it out, again, just using basic math, so it helped me out a great deal, and it helped out the crew a great deal too.
I see that
for sure.
Like everybody got better, you know what I mean? You can see it, man. Like, holy shit! Like everybody got cleaner.
Thank you.
Everybody got like articulate, you know what I mean? It's like they can explain what they're doing. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, no, and that's like I said, credit to Mr. Chalk, and Babu too, they pretty much took the lead on everything over there, like the last five years, or post-pandemic, should I say. But yeah, 5 years, I guess. But yeah, no, definitely, it definitely helped out. And another thing that helped too, that helped all of us as DJs was, not only are we having to articulate these things, but we're, I like to think of our courses, well, at least my approach, as an instructor always was kind of like, it's going to be half lecture, half demo, right? Because I'm going to show you something and then I'm going to talk you through it. You know what I mean? Or maybe vice versa. I'm going to talk you through something first, kind of explain to you what I'm about to do, then I'm going to do it. And then maybe I'll, explain it to you one more time. So that was always kind of my approach as an instructor. And, on top of the articulating side of things, now you're having to demo it. So you got to be sharp, you can't mess up, you're the instructor, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, it was a lot more practice, like here in the lab, I was getting to school like an hour before class and warming up, and you know what I mean? Okay, what am I going to teach today? I still have it, a journal. If I was doing like a master class, I would like, what am I going to teach? I would write it down and make notes, and I would print handouts and stuff like a regular like college course basically. You know, so, but yeah, no, to your point, like, it helped us in more ways than one, for sure.
With teaching like the students, have you guys ever had a student where it was like initially you're like just kind of underestimated that student per se, but then they ended up like blowing you guys away eventually?
Yeah, I wouldn't say underestimating. It's just I think I touched on it earlier. It's you have, you know, they're super green. They're brand new to DJing, but they love music and they think DJing's dope and they want to get down, you know? And it's just like they're kind of just cruising along, month 3, month 4, month 7, month 9.5, and something just clicks. Like all of a sudden, like it all just comes together at once. And it's just like it's all the learning, you know, like the basic learning is water under the bridge, because now like they understand it, they can execute it, you know. And so it's just weird the way to see it happen, you know what I mean? And you, like, I've had classes where like when I teach something, right, we'll walk around from station to station. Okay, all right, guys, like drill time, everybody drill, where I'm gonna come around and you know, listen to how you guys are doing it. So I've had a few students where, you know, literally when I'm at their workstation, you know, they'll do it and they'll finally get it, and they'll look on their face and they'll look at me like, is that it? Did I like, yeah, that's it. You did it. Like, oh, you know what I mean? They get excited. You know what I mean? It's just like, damn, okay. And then, yeah, and like I said, they're off and running. You know what I mean? So, and it's dope to see. It's really dope to see. It's a pure moment.
Islo's one of them, huh?
Izzy, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
So not giving up is the key. Just stick with it. He's a little
monster. Yeah. And he's another one. I mean, I think he's been with us for a few years now, but you know, being consistent, just like anything else, you know, there's a lot of value in consistency, and obviously he's very passionate about it. But he worked very, very hard. He took a shout out to DJ Analog, our brother Harvey. He took a handful of private lessons with Harv, and obviously, like, you know, worked under the mentorship of Babu and Chalk, and probably studies a lot of YouTube and when he outside school. You know, I mean, he's just about it. And yeah, I remember like when he first started, and like anybody, he's just learning. You know what I mean? But look at him now. Like, I mean, for considering, let's just call it 3 years, you know what I mean? Like, he's competing in DJ battles, you know what I mean? Like DJs at the highest caliber, you know? He's just a kid, you know? Like, whereas that like me, that was year 10 for me, you know? I didn't enter my first battle until I had, well, maybe it wasn't quite, maybe it's like, yeah, 8 years under my belt, you know? 6, 7 years, something, 6, 7, like
6, 7.
Sorry, I kids, they kill me with that.
Too much.
So with the students initially coming in, what do you think like the biggest misconception they'll have when it comes to DJing, mixing clean, stuff like that? What's like the biggest thing that they have that they don't really understand?
I think like something that they struggle with, you mean? Or just
well, maybe they thought it was a certain way, but then it was kind of just not what it was when they actually got in there and started realizing that it's actually an art form, and it takes practice and perseverance to master.
Yeah, our method's a little different because we try and you know, we try and instill a healthy balance of obviously like the basics, you know, like you know, beat matching, mixing, but we also, like, you know, we're the Beat Junkies, so like we also want to teach you some stuff you can't learn from anybody else, you know what I mean? Some more advanced things, obviously some cuts and, like, you know, some 2 turntable techniques. But I think we've had some students like that they could probably care less about the more advanced stuff. They want to just come in and learn how to mix. They want to learn how to play on CDJs because their end goal is to go out and play some of the big rooms. You know what I mean? DJ at Seafood City. I just saw that on Instagram yesterday. They want to play like the big spaces and stuff like that. So they're not really too keen on scratching and all that stuff. They just want to learn how to DJ. You know what I mean? How to mix. And so yeah, I don't know if that's a misconception, but it's kind of like I said, you know, when we have students, you try and keep them well-rounded, I guess. And some students, and there's not that there's anything wrong with that. They just, some of them are not interested in some of the technical things. So, yeah.
Speaking of technical things, is there something that you teach today that you wish was around back then?
Like a technique that I teach?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, like my I guess my specialty has more become like 2 turntable techniques, you know, over the last 5 years, I guess, like I said, since the pandemic and just really having all that downtime. Yeah, I wish that, you know, I would have figured that out, or like had somebody to show me, like, or talk me through the mathematical side of DJing when it comes to 2 turntable trick mixing, beat juggling techniques, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I wish that, because I just think, like, you know, like I would be so much further along, you know. It's like, what's the expression? If I knew back then what I know now, you know, type of thing. So, yeah.
For sure.
Hey, Mel, I wanted to pick your brain, man. Like, I know when it comes to teaching, you know, you teach them the techniques, right? And just the different patterns in it. Like, how do you teach someone flow, though? Like, because I had a student ask me one time, like, how do you know what to do next? How would you explain that to a student?
Scratch flow, you mean?
Yes, scratching wise.
So the way I like to kind of explain that to DJs is that you take, let's say, the 5 techniques that we teach you at BJIOS, right? And, you know, part of our method over there is that before we start a class, we have what's called a scratch warm-up drill, where it's a Q&A, you know, and again, just kind of get everybody acclimated, you know what I mean? Get everybody loose and get the flow going. And some students, they would struggle with that. And I think part of the reason for that is because it's still new to them. I mean, they only have 5 techniques under their belt, you know, but they're still, you know, polishing like those 5 techniques. So for them to be able to, you know, kind of flavorfully transition from a chirp to a tear, like they're not quite there yet. You know what I mean? They're not in that space yet, that mindset where they can just kind of flow freely. But to answer your question, I would always tell students, like, look, just like whatever scratch you're most comfortable with, you know, start there, you know. And then I would always encourage them to pick a more of a down tempo beat. Like, don't throw on like the 95, 100 BPM, you know, like don't overwhelm yourself. Like, you know, or if it's a beat that you really like, slow that beat down to -8, or, you know, or just, you know, but keep it like, you know, keep a modest tempo, because then you're not putting this pressure on yourself to think so fast, you know, because then that kind of takes away the feeling, you know. But I would tell them, like, yeah, pick a nice, like, comfortable tempo, and whatever technique, let's say it's the chirp that you feel most confident in, like, you know, you feel like you got it down pretty good, start with that. You know, start with that, and then, like, as you get more comfortable, you start to get warmed up, you know, the next scratch that you wanted to do, like, kind of just like, it's like chess. You think like 2 or 3 moves ahead, like, okay, I'm going to chirp for another 2 bars, and then, you know, at the top of the next 4-bar sequence, I'm going to dive into some tears, or whatever, just as an example. But I would try and encourage them that way.
Damn, I love that. That's so dope. That's a really good way to really think about it, because I wouldn't know how to explain it. Like how you guys said you guys were at a pause. I just was just like, I don't know, you just do it. It's like, that doesn't say much. It's just like so vague, right? Just
it's
like,
hard.
Yeah, it's really hard to explain, but that really puts a nice perspective into it. So thank you so much.
No, of course.
So I've heard so many stories about Curse's garage, man. Explain to us, what was the setup like in there anyway?
He had just a wall of records, and just a 2 turntable and a mixer, you know. But that was for whatever reason, like, I think he probably had, again, we were all young, so I was still living at home with my parents. He had the whole garage to himself. Yeah, did Rhett have? No, I don't think he had the garage. He had like we were all bedroom DJs basically. And so Curse, he had the most physical space, like geographically, he was kind of central to, you know, J-Rock was down in Orange County and down in Huntington Beach at the time. Me and Rhett were literally 2 minutes away from Curse's house. Yeah, it just, I don't know, it just became like the meetup point. I think a lot of the reason was because he had the studio, you know what I mean? He had space for us. He had like a sofa, we could all kick it, you know what I mean? His mom was always really cool about us kind of coming and going, and if we were getting loud, like she didn't trip, you know what I mean? She knew we were just in there like just DJing or whatever. But yeah, we were there like, man, several nights a week. I mean, school night. I was still a college student at the time, and Tuesday, Wednesday night, Thursday night, like come home from school, have dinner with my family, and like calling them like, hey, I'm coming over. Sometimes he would like, man, Melo, you're not coming over right now. I want you. No, I'm coming over. I'll be there in 2 minutes. All right, fine. I'll unlock the garage.
Was there ever a time that like Curse had errands to do and you guys were just there, like he had to leave or something?
Oh, shit.
Because I feel like if you guys were there that much, it's like dude had a life too, right? So
There
it's
might have been. He might have left us there a time or two. I can't remember a specific, but that doesn't sound like outside of the realm of possibilities.
Yeah,
it could have happened once or twice.
And definitely big
like
up,
maybe he went like on a food run or something, and you know what I
Yeah.
mean, like whatever, something like that.
definitely big up to Curse's mom for being hella cool about it too.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
doubt.
for
Rest
real with
in
all the
peace.
sound and stuff.
Yeah, R.I.P. Mrs. B. Yeah. She was always gracious. Yeah.
Man, hey man, like the D Style Sex set, man, like that was like a pivot, like seeing his album perform live at the Knitting Factory. But like what I tend to watch the most is the practice footage with you guys in that little room
Mm-hmm.
when D was cutting on top of like that box and whatnot, but you were at the other end. It's crazy, I
Such a
know.
rickety setup, man.
Hey man,
The crazy
he made
ass
it work for some reason. It's crazy how that stable that was for him with a PDX and a 07 ISP. dude.
Yeah.
But walk us through like how was that session? Given that you guys did ITF together, but like to do like his scratch tracks and perform it, how was learning it and then rehearsing for it? I mean, that was so.
you
dope.
guys are all familiar with D and with Phantasmagoria, right? Like,
Nah.
it's a sick ass album, right? Like, super duper ahead of its time is not even the right word, the right phrase. Like, I'd still like
100.
holds hella weight today. It's gonna stand the test of time and just go down in history as just an ultra classic, right? Groundbreaking. And D's music, it's so dope. It's fun to perform his stuff, and that was his song, should I say? That was all his vision. That was like performing it live was his idea. He, I mean, he's a musician at heart, right? Like that's what he does. He makes music using the turntable, but he always wanted to do that. And I remember like when he was working on it, he was telling me, he was like, yeah, I really like. I want to be able to perform this live, And so when the album came out, he's like, damn, 6 of us. But again, we were using vinyl, and he had all the records, and I think he pressed up a few test pressings, made some kits and stuff. Yeah, he did, because I still have them.
Yo.
I do. Yeah, but like basically like Phantasmagoria break records that.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn, man.
Yeah. It has all the what's the razor do has all those sound of like all the drum, everything. The hamburgers and no, all the sound.
Pretty much all of it, huh?
Yeah,
Oh, man.
he's a psychopath. Like all those sound. Yeah, all the sound of. Yeah, I still have it. Yeah, it's an RTI white label. But anyhow, that was all D's vision. And so I remember thinking like, damn, 6 of us, like how are we gonna choreograph this? And so we did. That studio, there was a studio in Whittier. We rented out for a few days. Brought all the gear. D, brought all the records and stuff. A few of the records we had, and so we all just kind of like, pooled our resources together, and D had a list of songs that he wanted to do, and basically walked us through it, and just kind of like the band leader, you know what I mean? Like, hey Babs, you take the drums, Rhett, you're on the hat, Melo, you take the horn or whatever, like he, you know what I mean? And damn, I'm sure like there was probably a few segments where he would rearrange things. So maybe Jay started out with the horn, and he was like, no, Jay, let's have Rhett do that horn, and why don't you guys switch and you do the hi-hat. But that was all D. Like just like choreographing the whole thing. Again, that was all his vision. And I think we probably, it would be dope to do this song. So maybe we chimed in a little bit. But yeah, that was That was crazy. That was crazy. That was crazy. And I'm really glad we did that. You know what I mean? And hopefully he was happy with the performance. But yeah, there was a lot going on. There was a lot going on with that. 6 DJs at once was crazy.
I mean,
that spot
dude, I would
looked
want
like
to see that again.
Yeah, that spot looked like a skate park a little bit. I don't know, like a place to kick it and shit. It's kind of tight.
Oh yeah, it was a little studio in I think it was in Whittier, but I did have the chance to tour with D. We did Europe. We were gone for like 35 days. We did like 25, 26 shows, like some of the major cities and some just like small towns and villages. It was me and D performing select songs off of Phantasmagoria, and then Wild Child from the Loot Pack. I think he had just dropped a solo album, and then Steel Will traveled with us. He was Wild Child's DJ, and we traveled by Sprinter van. We had our driver Alex, and then D's brother-in-law. The DVD that came out, yeah, that was all Byron. That was just
right.
like captured all the footage. But yeah, that was an experience. But yeah, it was dope. It was dope because it's like we would go to, whether it was like we did this venue called Bateau Phare in Paris with Crazy B and his crew, and it was like basically like a ship that you literally like walk down the boardwalk and board the ship, but it was just a venue. So it was good, it was dope, like packed like 300 people and just all scratch heads and stuff, and it was a tableless night.
Sick.
But it was crazy because like when you go watch KRS-One, you go to a Boogie Down or KRS-One concert, right? Like he has like obviously an immense catalog, right? Mad hits and just hip hop bangers. And so the fans, like when he does whoop whoop sound of the people get hype. You know what I mean? Like when he does the bang. Well, it's the same thing like performing with D. Like as soon as like you would start like John Wayne on acid, like they like they're his fans. Like they knew the songs. It was dope, man. It was fucking sick. You know what I mean? Like so just to see that, you know what I mean, and feel that energy. Because as you guys know, like that album was just so impactful on the scene, you know what I mean? Yeah, it was just that was so dope, man, just to be a part of that and be able to travel with them and just experience that. Yeah, it was sick.
Super sick. Hey, Melo, I know you're an avid poker player. You still play?
I do. I played a lot last year when we were still under construction at Made from Scratch. I was pretty much kind of playing it as an additional stream of revenue, just because building a restaurant's like pretty damn expensive. Yeah. And I still get out and play. I've actually I'll play like lately maybe twice a month, 2 to 3 times a month on a good month. But I just started playing. I just I took like a long break. I took 6 months, like right before we opened the restaurant, before we opened Made from Scratch. Once we opened, that was the focus, and then I went back and started playing like beginning of September of this year. But I've been playing for a very long time. I started playing just at a basic level in the late 90s, and then when No Limit Hold'em got introduced in the early 2000s, a lot of the limit players transitioned to that. And it's funny because there's so many parallels like with poker and with DJing, in the respect that, kind of going back to what I said, like people approach DJing, and there's no right or wrong. They approach DJing a different way. Like someone like me, like I want to soak up as much game as I can. I want to be able to scratch. I want to be able to mix. I want to have dope records. I want to be able to get busy on 2 turntables. I want to be able to make dope routines, and I want to be able to go out and rock a spot. You know what I mean? Whereas there's some other DJs like they could care less about records. They could care less about being technical. They just want to learn how to mix and they want to just have that one lane and be good at that one lane and go out and play the gigs. Well, it's similar with poker. You have some people that they're coming out, they're just blowing off some steam. You know what I mean? Guys that get off work at 5 o'clock, they work a 9 to 5, and they want to come in and like they got a few $100 or whatever it is. They want to come in and have a few beers and sit down, and they just want to play some cards, and they don't take the game that seriously. Right? Whereas, and this took me a very, very long time, much like DJing, you know what I mean? Because as we've seen like the evolution in DJing, we've also seen, you know, the evolution of poker strategy, like over the past 2 decades. Like the game has changed, like, you know, a few times. Like we've seen a few turnovers and trends in the way that people approach it. So, yeah, I take it very seriously. It's, you know, because I want to be good at the game, you know, and there's so many things that if you want to be a winning poker player and you want to be able to beat your opponents, and the thing that's crazy about it is that you're never going to sit down at a poker table with the exact same lineup. Anytime you walk into a card room, you're always going to face off with different people. You know what I mean? Sometimes, like out here locally, yeah, sure, there's a few guys that I play with regularly, and sometimes I'm at their table, sometimes they're at another table. But for the most part, it's always going to be a unique mix. Like no 2 lineups are ever going to be the same. So, you know, you have to be very methodical, and this is like a whole other podcast, but basically the cardinal rule in poker, as basic as it sounds, is just to pay attention to everything. Like even the hands you're not in, you really have to watch everything that your opponents do, because at some point you're likely to face off in a hand with them, either heads up or in a multi-way pot with them and another player. So you need to start like early on, like the second I sit down. You see guys like on their phone, and that's fine, like there's nothing wrong with it, but you know, they're missing out on information. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times hands, they call it showdown. Like when you know, in Texas Hold'em, there's a flop, which is 3 cards, there's a turn card, and then there's a river card, and then showdown is, you know, whoever has the best hand on the river. So a lot of times hands don't go to showdown in no limit games, because, you know, depending on how deep the stacks are, people don't want to, you know, they don't want to risk all their money with just one pair. You know what I mean? So a lot of times hands don't go to showdown, but when they do, and you get to see what cards, you know, what was the winning hand, what was the losing hand, you know what I mean? You really have to take note of that, because that's going to show you, oh, this guy's capable of bluffing. Oh, this guy just showed up with top set of kings, like he's going to fucking he's not putting a penny in the pot unless he has it, you know? And then I've even had a handful of times where the guy will be next to me on his iPad, and all of a sudden, like, you know, you hear a commotion, like people are kind of like, oh, it's a big pot, and he'll be like, what do you have? Like, oh, man, I don't know. I wasn't even paying attention. I'm not telling you. That's your job. Pay attention. You know what I mean? Why would I give you game? You know what I mean? So, but there's that. There is mathematics to it. You have to know how to calculate odds on the flop, on the turn, on the river. You have to know how many outs you have. Position is very important. You don't want to get involved in marginal hands out of position. You know what I mean? You want to play your strong hands, you know, you want to play them fast and hard out of position, but in position, you can, when you're later to act in the hand, you can kind of like open up a little bit more. You can open up your range. You can bluff more in position. Bet sizing, bet timing. There's poker tells, there's physical tells that you'll see sometimes, and people like to say, oh, I had a tell, blah blah blah, but tells, they're not 100% reliable. What you need to do is, when you notice what you think, or you spot what you think is a tell, you need to correlate that with the other things. You need to correlate that with his bet size. You need to correlate that with how active has this guy been. You can't just like spot one thing and be like, okay, I call. You know what I mean? Like you have to. You're basically trying to make a perfect decision based on imperfect information. You have to gather as much info as you can.
What's your favorite hand?
Your goal is to beat everybody.
This sounds like we're talking about DJing.
Yeah,
I mean,
this applies to battles, man. Like especially head-to-head battles. You got to see like their strengths and weaknesses and try to get them.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
Exactly.
What's
like
your
Rock
favorite
Raider
hand,
said,
Melo?
right? I'm studying you. 2 aces. I mean, that's yeah.
Besides,
So, and then there's, besides that, I'd say like suited connectors, like a 7-8 suited. But the thing with poker is that, and this is not a lot of people can do this. You got to have a lot of guts. You got to have a lot of heart. And sometimes like when I'm going for a bluff, right? You have to kind of get out of a bluff. Like when you think like, okay, this guy's he's gonna calm me down. Like meaning that I raise before the flop, this guy calls, he checks the flop, I put out a bet, he calls, and then I was like, okay, there's still 2 more cards to come, right? And depending on the texture of the board, if the turn card comes like a brick, like a 2 deuce or a 3, no connectivity to the board, doesn't complete a straight, doesn't complete a flush, doesn't pair the board, right? And he checks again. Now, a lot of times, this is where you can really put pressure on him. They call it bombing the turn card, right? Meaning that you put out like a pot-sized bet. Maybe your bet on the flop was $25, but now there's 125 in the flop or in the pot. So now you can bet 100. You can put pressure on this guy. Because if I think you have one pair and you're deep stacked and I'm deep stacked, I'm basically on the turn. I'm telling you, I'm making this pot bigger. I'm inflating this pot. We might play for all of it on the river, right? But you have to go with your read. So if I think he has one pair and he calls that big bet and the river card doesn't change anything, you have to barrel it. And it takes guts, man. That's where you're playing the game. That's where you're playing poker. Because he's going to check again, and you're going to have to just, okay, I'm going to put in another chunky ass bet and put maximum pressure on you. You really want to call off 75% of your stack or your whole stack with one pair? Because that's what I think you have. I'm not saying that to him, obviously, but I'm saying, that's what I'm saying. But meanwhile, I have 8 high. I have nothing. Maybe I missed a flush draw, But then sometimes there's the guys that this is where the metagame comes in, because like guys that I play with regularly, they know that I'm capable of that, and I know that they know that. So I got to really pick my spots with them, because they will calm me down, because they know that I'm capable of putting a bluff in. So sometimes you have to get out of the bluff. So if I bomb that turn card against one of those guys and the river card comes, doesn't change anything, and he checks again, he might be checking to induce me to bluff so he can get more money you know what I mean? So you have to, again, there's so much to it, man. It's so dope. I love it. It's like chess. That's the only form of gambling, I guess, that I do. I don't play blackjack or roulette or
you opened Pandora's box with Melo, bro, with poker, bro.
Yeah, but no, like I said, very similar to DJing, to your point, Rated, it's just, you know what I mean? You have to know who you're up against. You know what I'm saying? You got to do your research, and you got to keep up with the art form, and you want to obviously be on top of your techniques. You want to practice, with poker. There's forms of study out there. There's live streams. There's a lot of info. I've read books, and I have a pretty healthy collection of books.
I used to be a poker rat too, Melo.
Yeah?
Yeah, man. I used to be on the
What was your
decks all the time, man. That was my income for a minute.
Word. Where did you play at?
Just locally here in Washington State.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been up there to play, but that's crazy. I didn't know that. Yeah, I love it.
Poker was my shit back in the day, bro. So I still watch just to keep in mind and play sometimes on my phone, just to keep keep sharp at it, But
yeah, no, for sure.
But that's a lot of money involved, though. You know what I mean? But yeah, man. When it comes to poker and all that, are you using the same knowledge and applying it to your new business though with the pizza joint? Like you're putting all in and shit.
Yeah. Well, the restaurant business is crazy, but yeah. I mean, I guess the main rule there, I mean, again, I'm still learning. This is a new business, for me, and shout out to D Styles and our other partner, DJ For Real. We worked very hard to get it off the ground. It took us about 3 years to complete construction. There's just so many things that went into it, working with the fire department, the health department, the city of Redlands, a liquor license. We have a full bar, creating the menu, hiring a team, furnishing the place, trying to, kind of aesthetically do cool things to complement our concept, which is, celebrating music and DJ culture inside of a nice restaurant and with a full bar, with bomb fire ass pizza and delicious apps. But yeah, I think the main thing there that I've learned is just to be present, physically be present as often as possible. And with that business, there's so many moving parts that you have to be attentive to. And so, and I feel like we're doing a really good job. We're staying in front of everything, week in, week out. And it changes, everything changes week to week. We have some really, really strong weeks. And then we had a big storm out here last weekend. And so we had a slow ass Friday. And usually the weekends are, those are our days for a number of guests, and you know what I mean? and sales and stuff like that, food sales. But stuff like that's gonna happen, you know what I mean? That's kind of out of our control. But I feel like, yeah, as long as we we respect it and we pay attention to it and we handle our business and we take care of our responsibilities, I definitely think it has really good potential to grow and to be something really cool and hopefully lucrative, as a business. But yeah, so far so good. Food is amazing. I mean, shout out to Chef Austin and the whole team back there. They work really hard, and it's kind of like a Sunil. For real, he calls it a double entendre, but it's made from scratch with a K, because that's how DJs we spell scratch, right?
Well, yeah.
But half of our menu is they're all scratch recipes. So we just put wings on the menu, and Chef, he created 4 sauces, and he makes them from scratch. They're all house-made sauces: a garlic parmesan, a spicy buffalo. What's the other one? Spicy buffalo. A honey sriracha, and a spicy barbecue. Yeah, and they're bomb. They're delicious. So, but yeah. So yeah, anytime you guys want to come down, man. Anytime you guys are in the area, let us know.
Yo, Redlands is deep,
but yeah,
though.
so the food, it's San Bernardino County. But it's actually, you know what? Spending the last 3 years plus driving out there, getting this off the ground. The drive going out there, even though it's, for me, it's about 70 miles each way, whereas door to door from here to BJIOS was about 30 miles, right? Like less than half. It takes me less time to get to Made from Scratch than it would take me to go to Glendale.
What?
Like those drives, those drives through LA are sick. Like they're gonna be so gnarly. And like when the Dodger games and all, forget about it. Oh my God. Yeah. Dude, I had some 2+ hour drives just to get to Glendale. Yeah. I mean, I've had some lengthy drives going out to Redlands too, but generally the traffic it's pretty smooth. It's pretty smooth. So I don't really mind the commute. I don't mind the distance as long as, the traffic's flowing. Once in a while I'll hit a snag, but yeah, for the most part it's all right. So
are there any digging spots at the shop?
There's actually a really dope store, 100 yards up the block. Really dope store. Dope 12 inches, dope 45s. They sell VHS tapes and other collectibles. Old record cases, 45 record boxes, cassettes. It's dope. It's dope. I've been meaning to go back there. I've only been once. It's called Redlands Vinyl and Collectibles, I think is the name of it. But yeah, it's right there on Redlands Boulevard, literally 100 yards down the street from us.
You been doing this for hella long, right? So do you consider yourself part of this network where you're you know what, I'm part of this big culture and I'm glad to be part of it and all that, but do you look at the young generation be do they look at me like I'm one of the greats, or I'm one of the OGs and shit, you know what I mean, or you consider yourself a normal dude, man?
Well, for me, I definitely acknowledge the fact that I've been at it a very long time, right? And but it always is. It's nice, and I've said this time and time again. It's always nice. You can't really receiving a genuine compliment, you know what I mean, about what we do, something creative, you know what I mean. Whether it's, I've had nights at the club where I'm in Vegas where I'm walking out and, I had a good night, and as I'm walking out, yo, man, fucking killed it, dog. You know what I mean? Fuck, that's good shit. You know what I mean? To me, that's those moments like that are invaluable. Those are things that I'll take with me to the grave. Just because it's just I mean, you guys, I love the craft, I love DJing, I love music so much, and we put so much heart and soul into coming up with our ideas, right? That when it really, really resonates with someone, in that sense, in that regard, to where it's just you blew someone's mind, mission accomplished, you know what I mean? So, but to answer your question, PJ, it's, it goes both ways for me, because people will, like I'll get comments on, social media and stuff, and like, oh man, that's why you're the OG, and again, all kind words, it's a lot of praise, and which I super appreciate, you know what I mean? It's just like, damn man, I've been doing this so long, like, but the flip side of that coin is just like, there's probably people that like, oh man, he's washed, man. This guy's been DJing too long, man. Like, go take care of some grandkids or something. Do something else. You know what I mean? I'm sure it goes both ways. You know what I mean? But I try and focus on the positive. You know what I'm saying? And fortunately for me, it's it's nice to just even if it's just a quick little comment or like some flame emojis. On the D'Angelo mix that I did or whatever, you know what I mean? Like stuff like that. Just like, oh, hell yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I appreciate that,
In my opinion, you're the best overall DJ, dude. Straight up.
You're most all around, definitely, bro.
Straight up, dude.
Thank you guys, man.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I've never heard ever washed. I've always heard best all around DJ.
Yes.
Thank you, fellas. I appreciate that, love. Thank you.
There's nothing wrong.
You guys too, man. You guys been at it for a long time.
There's like nothing wrong with
I make mistakes too.
But your mistakes on tight, dude. Like when you skip and shit, like it's sick, dude.
Yeah, I was telling D, I forgot how we got on the subject, but so like these videos that I do for IG, right? Like when I have time or I have an idea, like whatever, sometimes I can knock them out relatively quickly. Sometimes like a few takes, I put the mix or the routine together, whatever, and then like, all right, hit the record button, and maybe a handful of takes. But sometimes, like, I'm not gonna front, like the D'Angelo one, that took me a little over an hour to get a take that I felt happy about.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it can be frustrating because it's like I know I can do it, and just like but I want it to sound good. And so sometimes it just, you know how it is, like you make a little mistake or something. So anyways, I was telling D, because he was saying the same thing. It's like, man, routines are always so tight, man. It's always so perfect, man. Like, no. I was like, man, I forget which routine it was. And I was like, you should see like all the outtakes, like all the bricks I threw up. And I was telling him, I was thinking about, it kind of gave me this idea to put like a quick little reel together, call it like a greatest misses. And just all the mistakes, like all the rough takes that I do, where just like, fucking, you see me like hit the stop button or like, you know what I mean? Like throw my arms up in the air or just like shake my head at myself. Like, yeah, no, definitely. Like I'm not perfect by any stretch of the means. Like I make mistakes all the time.
Hey Melo, so you've spoken about DJ retirement and long-term planning and so forth, about like, the restaurant and all, but like, what would you tell 20-year-old Melo-D to start doing immediately?
I should have started a retirement fund, like a Roth IRA account, or like a mutual fund, or you know what I mean, an index fund, something like that. And I think this is part of growing up. It's part of maturing. But I squandered a lot of money when I was younger. Not that I pissed it away, but I was never really like the smart shopper guy. Like I'm when it comes to things like that, I'm pretty impatient. So like, if I have like a leak at the house, right? I'm just gonna like, first plumber, I'm just gonna call him, and right. I'm not gonna, you know what I mean? Like call around and try and like, haggle to save a couple $100. I'm just like, all right, man, can you just come over and fix it? Like, but yeah, looking back, I'd probably be like, probably just a little more tactical, I guess, when it comes to like just lifestyle stuff. Yeah, I mean, that would probably be the thing that sticks out. I remember when I got, I did this TV show, late night TV show. It just ran for one season in the late 90s. And at the time this is the same year actually, 97 to 98. But this is that same year when the Beat moved from that small building that we started in to that high-rise building, the E Entertainment building on Wilshire. And so with that success of the station, like people that had been there and kind of helped contribute to that success, we all got a pay raise. So I was getting paid pretty good money to DJ 5 nights a week. I think after taxes, I was taking home like just under $1,500. It was like $1,400. So this is in the late 90s, and I was still living at home. Parents weren't charging me rent, so I was saving money, but I was also going out and having fun and whatever. Bought myself a car. But then I got that gig at the TV show, and that was a big contract. That was before the residuals, it was about 150K for just the year, and we were taping 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday. We would tape one show Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then tape 2 on Thursday for Thursday and Friday.
Was this Vibe?
Vibe TV. Yeah.
I remember that.
So I was doing double duty. Like I'd have to be on. We used to film that at the CBS lot on Fairfax, and so I would have to be there at 11 a.m. and we would film until 4:30. We would wrap. I mean, I would rehearse with the band, and we'd have a lunch break, and then we would start taping. We'd be out of there by like 4:30, and then I would drive to the radio station to do the show. So I was making really, like, I had a big year, and so my dad, I'll never forget, rest in peace. I was going out with my friends one day, and as I'm walking out, he's like, "Son, come here and talk to you for a second." I was like, "Yeah, what's up, Dad?" He's like, "Hey," he's like, I'm really proud of you, really happy and excited." But he's like, "I know you're doing really well." He's like, "I don't want to see you blow this money." He's like, you think about maybe like, starting to save for a house. I'm like, "Okay, Dad, yeah, you're right." So I did. I saved up, and that's how I was able to afford that first house in Cerritos that I bought in 2000, was through just the work I was doing at the radio station, and being fortunate enough to have that TV gig. Just help pad my pockets, and then doing gigs from time to time with the fellas, and you know what I mean. But yeah, that if it wasn't for those opportunities, I wouldn't. My life would be much different. But to answer your question, like that's what I would tell my younger self, just to just be a little more sensible. But I think that's just like kind of, like I said, that's part of growing up. Sometimes like you have to learn the hard way, man. And I think that's okay. You know what I mean? I think that's okay. Because I've seen the opposite. Like I've seen people that like they're super by the book and like very, very focused and like straight arrow like through their 20s and 30s. And then when they get older, they just go fucking buck wild.
They just go ham.
They just, you know what I mean? They like leave their wife, and then they find like a young 22-year-old broad, and they take up with her, and then now they're spending all the money that they worked so hard in their life. They're going out and they're blowing it all. You know what I mean? Their kids hate them, and what did you left? Oh yeah.
Gosh, that reminds me of like. Sorry, that just reminds me of like middle school. Like there was kids that went to church for school, and I felt like they were the ones like after high school who became the most freakiest ones. Like they were so restricted, I guess, growing up, that like after high school they just were like the splurgy types and stuff that was just doing all kinds of like weird shit.
Right. Yeah, too sheltered, right?
Yeah,
too sheltered.
That's a trip.
Yeah.
Melo, I know you were talking about you got into gambling like in the late 90s, but I wanted to talk to you about your break records, man.
Yeah. Oh, word.
Yeah, so look, check this out. I got one of these. I think I first met you at Stax. You did an in-store with, and Julio G was with you. You did like an interview, and then you did a quick demo, and you gave these out.
Oh, was that? Yeah, that's right. I remember that. Yeah.
It says Peace Ray, and it has Melo-D on this.
Sick.
Yeah, and then I even picked this one up too. But with Gambling Pete's, I was looking at this dude on the curve. This Focus is, and I was like, "Is this Ed Powers? Who is this guy?"
Ed Powers?
What? That's no, that guy is so that photo that's from one of the books that I bought when I used to play and I used to play blackjack. He's the author of a blackjack book. And I don't know, I just felt like I remember like having that book and just having this idea, right, to create this alias. Sick. And but I use that photo because he was like, when you look at it, he was like to me like he's like the epitome of like kind of like a DJ and like gambler, right? Like he just like just I don't know, older cat, right. Sunglasses, casual wear, and then just reading some of the language in his book. Just like, wow, this guy's a blackjack, this guy's a DJ, and he's like,
Did you sample some of his like books on tape?
No, that was that first record. That was a video I had on blackjack. That was from like the early '80s. God, I still have it somewhere. It's such a sick video. It's this guy wearing a suit, and you could tell it's like early 1980s, just the style of like clothes he's wearing. But he's like smoking a cigarette.
No.
And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna teach you how to play blackjack. You might know the game, but you don't know how to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so ill.
So brilliant.
Yeah, he's a couple things from that. Oh, it was awesome.
Dude, the break
It's such a
records.
sick world, man. That world can be very, it can be a dark place too, man. I've had people come up and ask me for money, and yeah.
Damn.
The Commerce Casino. This is a true story. Before I played poker, my very first time walking to Commerce, they had it was blackjack. But it was like it was like they call it California blackjack. So I used to go in there and play like whenever, and I was at the bar, just having a beer or something, and this Vietnamese lady came up to me, and I had just won like, I don't know, $1,000 or whatever playing blackjack, and I was calling it a night. And she was at the table, and so obviously she saw me cash out. This lady came up to me and like gave me the full sob story, started showing me pictures of her daughter. She's like, I have no money. She's like, I lose everything. I was like, I need some help, and I felt bad. She's like, I'll pay you back. And so I gave her a white chip. I gave her a $100 chip. See her in there the next week. And of course she never paid me back. So right then and there, I made up the rule, never loan, never borrow. Like that's it. I don't care who you are or what your story is, or even how close of a friend you are. Like that's just, it can be a very there's a whole other dark side to that scene too.
Did she yell out monkey for the face cards? Monkey!
yeah, monkey! Oh my God,
monkey!
Monkey! Oh man.
Winner,
Dude,
winner,
the
chicken
Vietnamese,
dinner and shit.
They no, there was another player, a poker player. He broke it down to me. He said it in the simplest terms. Because I asked him, this was years ago, playing at Hawaiian Gardens Casino, and we got kind of friendly, and but he's always just making me laugh, because he was just like, the Vietnamese, they can be very loud, and I mean, in a funny way. So I finally asked him, because like out here, at least in Southern California, there's a good cross section of the people that just gamble. They're Vietnamese, right? His name was John. I was like, that was his American name. I was like, John, what is it with like the Vietnamese culture? Like, why are they they gamble? Like they're like fearless gambling. Like they'll put like their rent money, like their milk money, like on the table. Like then if I lose, I lose. You know what I mean? I lose, I go home. You know what I mean? Like, why is that? Like it's not just like it's like all of them. Like that's like their mindset. And so he said to me, he's like, coming from our generation, coming over from Vietnam with nothing, we come here with nothing, we got nothing to lose. How can it be worse? So what, we lose some money? What, but like the way we grew, I was like, oh man, that makes total sense. Like I get it. Like you guys are out of fucks, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, who cares? Gamble, you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I'll never forget that. I was just like, oh, okay. Yeah, you guys, came with none to lose,
Monkey.
Monkey. Yeah, was that Baccarat where they just shake these?
Yeah, dude.
Melo,
man, from the Vietnamese.
This has been amazing. Is there anything else that you'd like to promote with your business, with anything before we let you go?
Just the latest venture, made from Skratch Pizza. We're out in Redlands, California. We opened April of this year. Like I said, we have some amazing food. We got a great team. We got some cool stuff we're doing over there to keep the vibes fresh. We got a DJ booth, and we do guest DJs, and you can catch myself there every Saturday night. D Styles, he comes down and he gets down. We got Russell Peters. He's going to be our special guest Sunday, December the 7th.
Let's go.
I just did, I had E-Man and Icy Ice out there last night. So we try and, like I said, just make it like a fun place to hang. And we got a full bar. We got the Beat Junkies Short Shot IPA on tap. We got a really nice space. And looking forward to hopefully having everybody get a chance to check it out. But you can check us out on Instagram. It's Made from Skratch Pizza with a K. Made from Skratch Pizza on Instagram, and madefromskratchpizza.com. Shout out to my crew, the world's famous, the world's most dangerous. Check us out, beatjunkiesound.com. That's for all things Beat Junkie Institute of Sound. That's our DJ school right here in Glendale, California. And beatjunkies.com, our online music service for DJs. And yeah, give all the fellows a follow. And much love to everyone that's just supported us for all these years, man. Like 3 decades plus now, and we're still happy to be here. Still loving the craft, and yeah, just blessed, man.
Yeah.
And shout out to you, fellas, man. Thank you for this, man. I really enjoy having these conversations. So
thank you,
love to you guys.
Thank you
Keep
very
on with
much.
Yeah.
Shout
Yeah,
out.
what you guys are doing for the culture is dope.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Melo,
Absolutely.
like you and the crew, Beat Junkies, is like a very big inspiration for the Skratcher crew right here. Like we envy and we look up to your guys' relationships with each other as a brotherhood and whatnot. Yeah, we respect you guys 100%. Thank you so much.
Yeah, keep it tight, keep it together, fellas. That's what's up. You know, it's all about that foundation, and I can tell you guys got that. Like, so yeah, keep on doing what you're doing with the pod, with DJing, like with just I know you guys are all fucking ill-ass scratchers, and yeah, making scratch music, and just keep pushing the culture.
Thank you.
All day.
Thank you.
For sure. Thanks again, fellas.
And that was today's podcast. Please like, subscribe, leave comments, and we'll see you for the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.